Now then, I love a quote as much as anyone. Here's a good one. A loved one perished at the hands of the Baron-Hearted Right. It's taken from a song by a band I love, British pop-punk band Idols. There are only 2 lines that appear in the entire song, and they appear repetitively, the one I've just read, and the title of the song itself, Divide and Conquer. Divide and conquer is a tactic as old as time, used to prevent the people, you and me, from challenging those in power. As a Barnsley lad, I've grown up with divide and conquer being an everyday reality of my life. There are still people in my community who won't speak to each other because of what happened during the miners' strike of the mid-1980s. The word scab is still chanted from football terraces over 30 years on. And speaking of football terraces, you only have to look at what happened down the road from me in Hillsborough with the Hillsborough disaster and the way that Liverpool fans, the victims of the disaster, were vilified by the press to see exactly what I mean by divide and conquer. We continue to fight against each other rather than for each other. 30 years on, sadly, the same tactics are still being used by the UK government. That's why on the 6th of July 2020, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Boris Johnson, 24 hours after clapping for carers, blamed the care industry for not looking after people better.
We need to think about how we organise our social care package better, if you remember, and how we make sure that we look after people better who are in social care. I think we discovered too many care homes didn't really follow the procedures in the way that they could have, but we're learning lessons the whole time.
I'll repeat that song lyric again. A loved one perished at the hands of the Baron-Hearted Right. Divide and conquer is the tactic of the desperate, and the government are desperately trying to find anyone else to blame for COVID-19. They can't blame the Black Lives Matter movement because those protests have led to no noticeable spike in coronavirus cases. They can't even blame last weekend's pubgoers because, all things considered, despite being under the influence of alcohol, they acted with respect and restraint. So now, they've turned on our carers, just as they turned on the firefighters after Grenfell. Don't let them divide us. We need unity now more than ever before. Don't blame the carers for the excessive deaths of COVID-19. Don't blame anyone for that matter. Question the lack of leadership. Question the leader who bragged of shaking the hands of coronavirus patients just in March.
I'm shaking hands continuously. I was at a hospital the other night where I think there were actually a few coronavirus patients, and I shook hands with everybody, you'll be pleased to know, and I continue to shake hands.
And question the reason why our carers are being blamed and why they're being blamed now. Finally, don't for a second believe that the COVID-related deaths of 20,000 elderly people in the UK were at the hands of our carers.